Hello, it's Ryan from 2minutetennis.net, and in this video, I'm going to share 3 single strategies you need to know about. Now, I'm definitely not saying that these are the only 3 things you need to know in order to play great singles, but following these 3 single strategies are going to make an enormous difference in your win-loss record. Let's get right to it. First, when you are returning serve, I want you, when the ball comes in, to aim the majority of your returns back down the middle between these 2 points. Hit most of your returns right back down the middle. When you hit the ball down the middle, you give yourself the most margin for error. I tell my students, yes, you don't want to double fault. I get it. They're all like, I didn't have any double faults today. Or they'll say, I had so many double faults if I have a lesson with them. They'll say, man, I had 7 double faults. I had to come in for a lesson. Nobody ever talks about how many returns they miss. If you miss a return, to me, it's no different than double faulting. You didn't put your first ball into play. And oftentimes your opponent has a good serve. You need to narrow your aim and center it to give yourself the margin you need for consistency. Another reason this works really well is when you can get the ball very deep, especially if your opponent kind of comes into the court on their serve, you can really pin the ball at their feet, forcing them to hit a weak ball. As you recover, they hit the ball short, and then you get to attack. Returning serve down the middle might seem too defensive at first glance and when you think about it, but I'm telling you, if you go out and play a match and you just hit every single return back down the middle, the chances of breaking serve will go way up. Now, the second strategy is when you're behind the baseline, hit the ball cross court. There are so many reasons for this. Here's why. First, so if your opponent pulls you over here, you need to hit this ball cross court. The first reason, yeah, you could say the net is lower. It doesn't make an enormous difference because it's only a few inches difference, but that's one reason. Second is the court is longer diagonally than it is straight ahead. So the court is 78 feet long, but it's 4.5 feet longer diagonally. It's 82.5 feet diagonally. So if you hit a ball down the line that lands 3 feet long, it would have been 1.5 feet inside the baseline if you had just hit it cross court. That's a cool instant way to become more consistent on your ground strokes because there's just more room lengthwise. The court is also wider when you hit cross court. So hitting down the line can be a very narrow direction you're trying to hit the ball. But cross court is actually much wider. So not only is the net lower, the court is longer, the court is wider. So many reasons this is going to help you. And one last one I want to share with you is when you hit the ball cross court, it's easier to bisect where your opponent's 2 best shots are for the next shot. Let me explain. If you hit the ball down the line to here, right? So the ball landed in, and then it pulls your opponent to here. Where do you need to go in order to bisect your opponent's 2 best shots? And the opponent's 2 best shots are back down the line and sharp cross court in a way that pulls you into the doubles alley. So where do you have to stand in order to bisect? You would have to move over onto this side of the court slightly. And it might not seem like a big difference because I'm on a strategy board here and it's just a few inches difference, but we're talking this far on a tennis court from the center. If you would have hit the ball, so I'm going to mark that. If you would have been here and hit the ball cross court, pulling your opponent here, and you were here, you now only have to go to here to bisect where they can hit their 2 best shots. Down the line, and now sharp cross court, especially if they're right-handed, they can dip this ball over here. So that's a big difference. The fact that I hit cross court means I only have to move to here in the time it takes for them to hit that ball, rather than hitting down the line, which remember is a shorter distance, and I have now a farther distance to go to bisect their 2 best shots. When you are behind the baseline and you hit cross court almost every single time, the chances of winning the point dramatically go up. As a little side note here, I want you hitting down the line when you're in front of the baseline. And I'm not saying that you can only hit down the line, but that's when the down the line becomes an option. But just as a standard rule here, simplified for you, when you're behind the baseline, hit the ball cross court. When you do this, the chances of winning the point will go way up. And the third tip in this video is when your opponent comes to the net, hit the ball low to their feet. I see this all the time. Somebody hits the ball short. Let's say that's you. We hit the ball short. We bring our opponent in. They attack. We're now scrambling to get this, to get their approach shot. They're coming in, and this player is in trouble, right? So they're defensive, but they try for an offensive shot. And they try to blast a cross court, typically, or down the line passing shot. And what I want to teach you is actually the two-shot passing shot strategy, which is when your opponent is coming in initially, there's a lot of room generally between them and the net. They're not going to get all the way up here typically for their first volley by the time you're making contact. They're only going to be around the service line. That is a great opportunity for you to actually hit the ball low to their feet by not trying to hit an offensive shot in this situation, but just hitting a neutral shot low over the net, right down the middle of the court, forcing them to volley from below net level. What you typically get is they will either mess up, like they'll just miss the volley outright, or they will hit a weak ball that lands short. Now you can come in, and now the passing shot becomes much easier because you're going for the passing shot, one, on a much easier ball, and two, when you're inside the court. It's called the two-shot passing shot strategy. First shot to the feet, and then when you get the weak ball, you can go for the pass. Now, if they hit a strong volley again, go at their feet again. Or if they get really tight and they hit a nice deep volley, then you can always go for a really high lob that pushes them back and usually gets them to miss the overhead. If you can lob over their backhand side, that's a great thing. But I don't want to get carried away here with like what might happen. I want to talk to you about what you need to make sure happens. When your opponent approaches the net against your forehand or backhand, resist the urge to lob initially or pass initially. As long as you're somewhat on balance, just hit the ball back low to them. They're either going to miss the volley, they'll get the ball over the net in a way that you can easily handle, or they're going to hit a weak ball that allows you to come in and go for the pass. So let's go over it again. When you're returning serve, pre-plan and aim down the middle. When you're behind the baseline, hit the vast majority of your shots cross court. And when your opponent comes to the net on you, hit the ball low to their feet right off of their initial approach shot. You follow those three strategies, there is no doubt you're going to gain confidence, win more matches, and play much better tennis. This is Ryan Reedy from 2minutetennis.net. You got this.